Virgo, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and this is going to be a general reading for you for the month of June 2025. In today's reading, we're going to be doing a spread called Moving Beyond Illusion. And if you look at this dragonfly that was sent to me, I don't know, it was a picture that was sent a few months back by my daughter, and I thought it was fake. And she was telling me, no, it's real. And I didn't believe her. I said, touch it. And she's like, ooh, no. And I was like, wow, she's really telling the truth. Like, this is real. And so I thought, wow, this really looks like, what's the message here for me? Like, this is like an illusion. It looks so fake, but it's real. And I thought, what is this telling me about myself? And so I really got the message that I needed to look at something in myself, that some false belief or illusion that I had about myself that I've been carrying, that is not true. And so I thought this is a great reading for my channel. And so that's what we're going to look at today. And then once we do that, we figure out what illusion you have about yourself. We're going to look at, where's this coming from? And so we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into your shadow, into the unconscious, because that is what's impacting or having the most influence, is driving this illusion. It's something, some sort of belief that you picked up when you were younger, you've put it away, somebody told you about yourself. There's just something in your environment that as a child that is driving this and continues to drive it, and so it needs to be healed. And so I won't end there. I'm going to ask the tarot in the third part, how can you begin to heal this in order to move beyond this illusion? And the tarot will offer suggestions as to where you can begin. And then I'll also suggest a playlist or a video from my other channel called Carol Cares. And it's going to be something that's going to help you, and it'll be related to what you're working on. So in this reading, I'm going to be using a real deck that has, it's full of illusions and imagination. It's called the Deviant Moon Tarot. And I thought it was very apropos for this reading. Then I'll be clarifying with the Radiant Rider Waite. And I'll also be pulling an oracle card for you for Return of Spirit. And I'll use that at the end. I'll read it at the end. And it's been really good for me. It's been awesome at just, kind of restating what I said in the reading for you. So let's begin, Virgo. I'm going to ask for what false idea or belief do you have about yourself that you need to become aware of. And I'm going to ask tarot for one card right now to start off with. One card for Virgo. You have the Hierophant card. What shadow aspect is driving this impact? Or impacting this illusion? One card, please, for a shadow aspect. You have the Hermit card, another major arcana card. And how can Virgo begin to heal this aspect of themselves? One card for that. Chariot. Wow. I don't know if that's ever happened. 3 major arcana cards here on your top. So very powerful energies for you this month. Very powerful. So there's a lot working in your favor. Now let's clarify the Hierophant. Tell me some more about it. A couple cards for the Hierophant. Whew. You have the Empress, and then you have the King of Wands to go with the Hierophant. Wow. Can't wait to read this. Hermit. The Knight of Wands in reverse. The Magician card and the Sun card. 2 more major arcana cards here. So far out of one, oh, let's count them when we're done. Chariot. Couple cards. Woo! Okay, you have the 6 of Wands in reverse, Justice in reverse, and the 9 of Wands. So you have out of 11 cards, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major arcana cards. 7 out of 11, that's a lot. So yeah, big energies for you this month. Let me pull a card for you, and I won't tell you what it is until the end. So here's your oracle card from Return of Spirit. 1 card for Virgo. There we go. Okay, so you start off with what false idea or belief about yourself do you need to become aware of? Well, you start off with a Hierophant card. And the Hierophant card is number 5 in the major arcana, and it's so 5 is a number of conflict. It's also a number of change, significant change. Hierophant talks about this authoritative figure, and it is authoritative figure. It has this city in the background. You can't really see it here, but he's sitting here, and he's kind of like this ruler of this city, and it's a bit funny because here he's sitting as this ruler, but yet he has this toy that he's hanging out of, this toy doll that he has hanging out of his pocket. And so there's something here that's out of balance, and so if you think of the Hierophant, I like to look at it as all of those rules, the right and wrong, those things that we were taught when we were younger growing up from authority figures. And you have to question sometimes when I say the word authority figures, because here you have this individual with a toy doll in his pocket, and they're the rules that they gave us when we were growing up, and the things that we told us were right and were wrong. And unfortunately, these are the rules that we grow up with, and we continue to believe them. And it's like it's how we were wired when we were growing up, And so the Hierophant comes up, and it's kind of like a card that says, okay, it's time for you, Virgo, to look at how are you wired? Like, what is it about you right now that you need to look at? Because there's really something here to look at about the wiring that took place when you were younger, and it's coming up for you to look at. And let's look for some clarification, see if we can get a little bit more about, what this illusion is or this false belief. You have the Empress, another powerful card that comes after, underneath. And the Empress is the second half of the feminine energy in the major arcana. And it's very important here that I talk about feminine and masculine energy. Now, because you have a king coming up, and the king is going to represent the masculine part. So I won't get into that yet, but we all have a feminine side and we all have a masculine side. Has nothing to do with our gender. We have feminine qualities, and then we have the masculine side. So the feminine part of the feminine is the Empress, and the other half of that is intuition, which is the High Priestess in the deck. But this card, this other half here, represents the beautiful feminine quality of having emotions and living from your emotions. And when emotions come in, you feel them and you process them, and then that's how you let them go, right? But so many of us get stuck on not wanting to even look at our emotions, or get stuck on things like depression, or we can get caught up in fear, and we can get caught up in anger. These emotions aren't meant to get stuck in our body, but they do. And especially if we were wired in a certain way, they can. And so I think what's happening with you right now, and I can see it clearly, is that you have learned to, when you were younger, you have learned, Virgo, that when emotions come up, you've learned to block them. And this is what's going on with you right now. There are emotions that are stirring in you right now. You might know what it is. It's like, I have all these emotions going on. It could be fear, could be anger. You know, maybe you're somebody that has anxiety, depression. Like, what is this all going on in me right now? But you've got your King of Wands here coming up. And the King is the masculine side of us. And that's our ego self. Our ego self is a petrified part, and it is the one that we think is our true self, but it's not. And it'll really convince you into believing it is. And it's the one that's it's petrified of emotions, and so it doesn't want you to come near your emotions. And in particular, I think there's this real pull. I think you're feeling this pull. And this is why these emotions are stirring. I'm wondering if there's something that you want to do. You're kind of maybe getting some idea out there, or maybe there's something you've always wanted to do. Because this is the King of Wands. He's holding a wand, and wands are creative. They want to go, right? They're spreading. They're sprouting. They want to spread out. They want to go. They want to go towards something, something for us, something creative, something unique, something different. And this King, our ego self will come out and go, no, 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 no. It's very much a believer in status quo. It would not want you at all to be creative, because creativity is another feminine quality, right? Here she is right here with all her creativity and all her emotional self. That's the feminine side that's wanting to come out here. There it is. This is what's wanting to come out. But I think when you were younger, you were wired to not allow these certain ideas that you wanted, things that you wanted to do for yourself, to branch out. Maybe you had certain ideas when you were younger. It's like, I think I want to do this. Maybe you know what it is, or maybe you don't. You've forgotten. But right away, there's something that says, oh, nope, can't do this. And so this is what's happening with you right now, where there's something maybe you want to do, something you're thinking about it, but the wiring in you has said, nope, we can't feel any of these emotions, and we can't feel any of this creativity, any of all of this. And so you have so much going on, and your ego self is coming in and just shutting it all down, right? It keeps us up in our head, because guess what? There's no creativity and emotions up here. It all comes from your body. And so this is where you are right now. And that's why you're so confused, because your ego's keeping you all up here. And that's one of their tactics is to keep you confused up in your head, right? And so what is it in your childhood or in your adolescence that's sitting in your unconscious? It's something that happened to you, maybe how you were wired when you were younger. What is it that is? This is all, by the way, a repeat of what happened when you were younger, but it needs healing now. It's coming up for healing, and that's why it's coming up in your life right now. We go through these dark periods, these dark nights of the soul, if you want, but it's because there's something that's coming up for healing. And so you start off with the Hermit card, and look at this individual who is really like taking time out here, almost hiding in this. If you look at this carefully, I don't know what you would call this, but there's this building right here, and it has this opening at the top, and a lot of times maybe seagulls will hang out in there. I know there's a word for it, but I just don't know it right now. Like a portal of some sort, and it's coming out here hiding. And the last thing that this individual wants to do is to look at their stuff, right? They're just kind of peeking out like this, and it's just like, and maybe you were one of those individuals when you were younger where you just kind of you hid, you just kept small. You kept small. Now, normally the Hermit card talks about going inwards, and it talks about, dealing with taking time out for yourself, getting still, and dealing with a lot of your inner stuff. But this is from your childhood here, so it sounds like it's like, I picture you as a child just kind of hiding, being that one that hid in the room, hid in a corner, where it was just like, It may be in fear. Maybe there was a lot of fear that went on. There was a lot going on, and you probably had a lot of emotions. But when we're younger and we don't have that outlet, we don't have people that are there to validate or support us, we can do that. We can like go in our own little corner, and I picture kids that do that now, and because they don't know what to do with all these big emotions that are sitting here. And I can see that the Knight of Wands this is an adolescent part of you that's buried here in your shadow. And it's the one with the wand. It's the one with that creative purpose, that fiery wand that wants you to go. It's the adolescent part of you that wants to be authentic, wants nothing more to be authentic, does not want to be controlled, wants to be free, doesn't want to accept conformity. It will definitely be one that wants to break all the rules when you were younger. But I'm wondering here if you were almost feel like this almost feels like kind of like a jail sentence to me. Like if you were really caged in and kept from being allowed to just burst forward with these ideas, these creative ideas that you had. I mean, you had everything in you. This is the Magician card. The Magician talks about like we have everything in us to manifest anything we want. And when you were younger, you felt like there were certain things that you wanted to manifest. You felt like there were certain things that you could do, wanted to do, but you just weren't allowed to do it. When that happens as an adolescent, when an adolescent is told no, well, we know what happens to them. That's when their anger comes out. And that's when their futility, or I call futility, their hopelessness, their depression. Because if they're not allowed, and that's why anger and depression, they say, are on both sides of the same coin. Because I know myself, I have a tendency to go towards depression. If I'm not allowed to do things, and when I was younger, that's what I would do because I wasn't allowed to show my anger. And so I would bury that anger. And so I had a lot of ungrounded anger I had to get out. I had to heal that. And so I'm wondering if that's you right now, where you're dealing with these emotions that I said they're kind of like stuck here. Your ego self is going, don't dare take those out. Maybe you're stuck in depression. Maybe you're stuck with ungrounded anger when you're lashing out at the wrong people at the wrong times, the people that you love. Because that is that knight, that freedom fighter that's been fighting to get out since you were a child. And just not allowed. Just not allowed. And so you've got a lot of emotions here that you need to get out. If it's anger, behind anger is a lot of grief. Because anger is a secondary emotion. It'll block that grief from coming up. And the big thing that's buried here, which, tells me that you may be in a lot of depression, is joy. This is the Sun card. And the Sun card is pure joy. And I don't mean that happiness hallmark putting on a smile. I mean that real sense of joy in your life, of passion. And passion comes from doing the thing you want to do, right? Your creative purpose, putting yourself first, going in that direction. So Virgo, you have this, your joy is buried here underneath all of these buried emotions. It's one of those emotions that gets buried underneath all of them. It's there. Believe it or not, in our shadow, those things that we buried when we were younger, put away, we were shamed maybe, we have gifts. We have happiness. We have joy that's buried in there as well. But that was taken away from you. Your joy was taken away from you when you were younger. And that's wanting to come back. It's like I think of that recent volcano in Italy, Vesna, I think it was, that just kind of went, right? It's something that sits there and the lava just boils and boils and boils until it's like it's time to just go. And maybe that's you right now, right? These emotions are boiling. They've been there for a while. They're ready. They're ready to be felt, right? And your ego's going, no, don't. And so how can you begin to heal this shadow aspect? How can you begin to start feeling, because it feels very overwhelming when this is going on for you. It's like, where do I begin? It's like, I don't want to open up that Pandora's box, because I'm scared. And a lot of people will say, no, I don't want to touch my emotions. I tried and it was just too scary. So where do you begin? We have the Chariot card here. Major Arcana, like I said, you have big energies in this reading because they're all here for you, Virgo. They're coming at you. They're just like, this is a big month for you for emotions. The Chariot card talks about this, usually talks about this individual that's been trying to drive this chariot by himself for a long time, right? And how is he driving it? This particular figure has no horses, has no wild horses without these reins. He's been trying to control his chariot for the longest time with his mind, right? You've been trying to control things. That's your ego self. And we said that he's out right here, this King of Wands. It's been trying to control your creative direction, trying to prevent you from this Knight of Wands that's dying to come out towards your authentic self. And you've been trying to control this with your mind all your life. And guess what? The Chariot card says, it's done. Like, you've hit this wall. You've hit this cement wall. You can't do this anymore. And that's where the frustration comes. Believe it or not, that all of our issues that are coming up, the pain that we feel from trying to block everything, it comes from our ego self blocking it. The actual feeling of the emotions is not the painful part. It's the blocking that we do. I'm going to say 85% of the pain that we feel is because our ego self is blocking it. And then once we get to the grief, once we get to the anger, once we get to the fear and we feel these emotions, it's like, shit, like, why didn't I know this? But our ego self is so petrified to touch our emotions. But the Chariot says, no, it's time now. It's time to go inwards. You've been spending all your life blocking this. It's time. And you got the Six of Wands here that comes out. Wow, here's the card. Here's the big emotion that you've been blocking. And I talked about your depression maybe. And I talked about your ungrounded anger. And I did talk about what's hiding behind this. This is the Six of Wands. And it's a number 6, which means in my deck, it's a card that number 6 is a duality number. It means that on one hand, this looks like a victory card. It looks like this individual's got the victory wreath going on. They're one around their head. They're coming home from a battle, has all their supporters around them. Everything's great. They've won the battle. But there's some real blocking here that's going on. Real resistance to looking at what's under that green blanket. What is what's the real picture here, right? Almost like this whole reading is about the illusion here. Everything's great. I got it all covered. I got my ego self that's blocking all of this. I'm keeping it all down. I'm pushing it all down. I've got my depression that is believe it or not, is a block. It's a screen for what's behind depression. There's something behind that. There's something behind anger. Well, guess what's behind anger? It's underneath this green blanket. The Six of Wands in my deck is the grief card. There's a hell of a lot of grief that you have, Virgo, that you need to get to. There's a lot of grief from when you were younger, right? Get the Justice card coming up right underneath it, right behind it, and it's in reverse. Another powerful energy. It's time. The Justice card has this balance in their hand, on one hand, and then they've got the sword. One sword. Sword of authenticity. That's the sword of truth. That's your truth. That's your authenticity. That's getting back to who the hell are you? Who are you under all this defense of all this defending these emotions, right? Because this is all blocked right now. Once you get to that grief and you start to, once you, really feel your depression, sit with that depression, sit with that anger, and you journal from that. I journal from my depression. I journal from my anger. That's how you get rid of your anger. I'm going to give you a playlist on journaling, and it's got little videos in there on how to journal from your depression and how to journal from your anger and how to journal from your emotions. It's my number one tool, that and grounding. I think it's time. And this Nine of Wands card comes out. This is you. This is you. You know, this is you. This is what you've been doing. You've been trying all your life. I can see it. You know, there's this big battle that you've been trying. You've been defending. You've been trying to keep these people away from you. You've been trying to kind of hold it all in and defend yourself. I know you've been trying really hard. And this card comes out and says, you know, it tells me two things. It tells me, one, you've been through a lot. It is a bandage on his head, you know. You've been through a lot. But it also tells me I think it's time for you to set some boundaries with some people around you. It's time for you. It's time for you now. It's time for you to take time out for you, right? It's time to put yourself first. And if that means going no contact with people, if that means letting people go, if that means setting boundaries, that's what it's going to have to be. Because it's time for you now, Virgo, right? And that's what I'm getting from this. So let's see what this oracle card is. I'm anxious. There's a shifting going on. That's for this month. And I believe it. Because you have so many powerful energies right here this month for you. That's like, it's time for you, Virgo. It's Virgo's month. This is Virgo's month. We're going to deal with some of this shit, these illusions, these, you know, that you've been feeling all your life, these burdens you've been carrying. It's too heavy. Our personal and spiritual growth occurs in a series of rhythms and patterns. When we reach a certain level of experience and understanding, life will move into a holding pattern as we master it. Things will fall into a steady, reliable pattern. We come to know what to expect and how things are going to be. And because we humans are creatures of comfort and habit, we usually enjoy hanging out on the plateau where things are familiar and reliable. This card has come to you today because you are either about to enter into or you are already in one of those great shifts. It is a necessary part of your growth and higher learning. You are moving to a new level of consciousness and awareness. In order for this to happen, some of the old ways of life and of being must fall away for you to make room for the new. So you may find yourself changing jobs or careers. Old friends or relationships may drift away as new people enter your life. And I think that's that Nine of Wands right there. You may move to a new home or have a sudden change in finances. On an energetic level, your consciousness is opening to the hidden wounds you carry. There's the hidden wounds you carry. More than likely, you are feeling very far out of your comfort zone, possibly even experiencing situational depression. Talked about the depression. This shift is vital and necessary. Remain as calm as you can while the earth shakes under your feet. You will find yourself quite pleased with this new consciousness and way of being once the shift is complete. Wow. So, this is amazing. This is amazing reading for you, Virgo. I want you to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through right now. This journey of healing yourself is the most difficult journey of your life, but it's the most important one. So take care until we talk next month. Bye-bye.